So now what I'm going to do is I want to switch over and let's take a look at the amplifier. We've done the programming for the fire panel. Now we have an amplifier. It's just sitting there. It's a phenolic piece of material with a bunch of little bits and pieces on it on a metal plate that doesn't know what to do at this point. What we need to do is we need to program up the amplifier. Okay, so we need to bring up the amplifier configuration tool. Here's the amplifier configuration tool. I'll make it a little bit larger so that it's easier to see. I'm going to minimize this down, and we'll come back to it in a moment. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we're going to add an amplifier, not just a straightaway amplifier, but we're going to add an amplifier to a fire panel. Okay, so in this, there's our amplifier tool task. What do we have to do? When we click on this, we're going to add a panel with integrated audio. Now, quite honestly, it doesn't matter whether we add it with integrated audio, add it to a command center, or add a panel without integrated audio. The whole step process here is that when we add this here, this is going to invoke the firmware. Remember I said there were two versions of firmware in the amplifier. It's going to invoke the firmware that is the software-driven firmware versus the hardwired. If we look over here at this tab, notice how the add something to a panel, add something to a panel is grayed out, and the other two are lit up. These are the two that would be the hardwired version. So we'll come back over and what we'll do is we'll just add a panel with integrated audio. There it is. Now let me toggle back over again. We've added the panel with integrated audio. Next thing it says is we need to click on the plus sign next to the fire panel. And it says touch the screwdriver and wrench icon. Verify that the standalone AV amp is not checked. Put an X in the backup because we're going to make this amplifier a 40 watt with a 40 watt backup. And verify that the common PSU is not checked. Now let me explain that as we toggle back over. Here's the plus sign, a little tiny thing there. We'll click on it. You can see there's the screwdriver and wrench, and we'll click on it. Over here, we have three option boxes. Notice that the standalone is not checked. It's not checked because this is not a hardwired amplifier. It's a software-driven amplifier. I'm going to put the check mark in the backup, and I'm going to take the check mark off of the common power supply. Now, just so you're aware, the power supply feeding the amplifiers is capable of supporting 80 watts worth of usage. That being said, if we're using 40 watts with a 40 watt backup, we're only using half of the power of an amplifier's power supply. So in fact, we could put together two amplifiers on one power supply. And if you did that, you would put a check mark here. Okay, so we've done that part. Next item we need to do is it says we need to touch the AV amp, add a new message for evac number 1 with a pre-tone, a voicemail, female voice message, a trailing tone. We'll add a new message number 2 that will be alert. We may not use that. And then we'll add a message number 3, which is the all clear. We would like that to be a male voice. We'll kick back over again. It said to click on the word AV amp. There it is there, and you can see when I click on it, the screen over here changed. So I've already used my amplifier tool. So it said I want to add a pre-tone, female voice, and a trailing tone. So I'm going to click on the word tone down here at the bottom. And there are several in here. Some of these I've imported into my system. I'm going to scroll down through it, and I'm looking for something like a temporal 3, something or other here. What's that one say? 520 hertz T3 square wave. Okay, so what I do is when I highlight it, if this is what I want to hear, let's try it here. I right-click on it and click play. See, do you hear the sound? That's the message, okay? All I have to do is just right-click on it and say stop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it, hold my left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag it up right below where it says audio section 1 and below where it says file name and let it go. Drag it up here and let it go. Now we heard it there. It's 3 pulses. So it's an attention getter. Okay, and that's all I was looking for was an attention getter. Next item we're going to do is going to add it in this area right here. This would be a female voice. This is some sort of, and we do have elevators in this building, so we'll look for that. And these are called fire evacuation messages. So we'll click in there for that. Now I'm looking at female 10. It does talk about elevators, tells us to leave the building. It's a short and sweet one. I'm going to grab that one again, hold it down, drag it up and set it down right here. Just pull it right up, and there it is. Now notice we have here a little reel-to-reel with a number 1. This is message number 1, so we've only put 1 in it. So what our little thing here said to do is we want to make a pre-tone, a voice message, and a trailing tone. Fair enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my most recents, because I'm going to take that same tone that we heard before and make it play forever. So I'll go back to most recents. There's that 520. And again, I'm going to bring it up right over here in audio section 1, right below where it said file name, right in that box, and let it go. I'll drag it up and let it go. Now, depending on where you're located, will determine what message you want to hear. Now, in this case, I want to hear 1 round of Get Your Attention, 2 rounds of the female voice, and then I want to play the 520 hertz forever. And I don't hit the up arrow to get forever. I hit the down arrow to get the infinity sign. Okay, and notice that we have this little checkbox sync is already selected. And what this means is when we put all of these messages into the amplifiers, that sync pulse that we talked about, the perfect sync, this is how these messages all synchronize. Okay, so here's the message I'm going to put into the system, and if I want to play the entire message, you just up here click on the word play, and this will bring your whole message. Here it starts. Followed by the female voice. In lieu of time, we'll hold off on that. So we also said we were going to do some sort of an alert tone. I'll click on the word alerts down here, see what I have available to me. I'm just going to drag female alert number 2 up and set it. And I want it to be below audio section 1, below file name, but below the original message. That'll be my message number 2. I have message 1, message 2. And then finally, the last item it said is I want to add an all clear message. So I'm going to come to the all clears. We did say we'd like a male voice. I'm going to use the short and sweet one right here. And I'm going to drop it right below that. And that'll be our message number 3. Now notice over here that it actually plays it 1 round, but it says to just start it over and repeat it. Play it 1 round and repeat it. Play it 1 round and repeat it. So now we have a message 1, which is our fire evacuation, an alert that we're not going to use, but we put it in there anyway, and then a male all clear message. Okay, I'll go back over. The last thing we need to do, we did play with the repeats and how many times we wanted it to work. And the last thing that we need to do is to connect to each of the amplifiers and upload. So when you click onto an amplifier, you plug in your USB cable, you click on the little tree here that says upload, the lower right-hand corner has the progress bar. There's no logging in, there's nothing that you have to do. It'll invoke the firmware that we're going to do for software driven, put it into the amplifier, and away it goes. When it's all done, the green bar goes away, you disconnect your cable and move on to your next amplifier. And I recommend that you use always the same tool so that your amplifiers all stay synchronized. Well, let's turn back over here and take a look at the amplifier task tool.